Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be showing you one of my specially made techniques on how to use up your leftover pieces. Doesn't matter what leftovers you have. So let's get started. Now what you'll do is with your leftovers you want to separate it into colours or rough colours, and I've basically taken out all the bits and pieces that have a lot of black on it, and I've just separated that from the rest of my leftovers. So you'll do with that is you want to mix this together until it's basically one colour. So I'll just take that to my pasta machine and run it through the thickest setting, and I'll keep on rolling it through until I have a somewhat solid colour. Okay, so there's what you would want, basically one solid colour. Now I'll just put that to one side and we'll work with this. So this is some leftovers from a Mica video and my saton slice video. So we'll just blend those together. Now what's important to know though is you want colours that work together. You don't really want clashing colours with this, as that will definitely cause problems. This is one of those ones where you want to make sure that your colours work together. So you'll just condense those into a ball and you'll begin to roll them out. Sorry, that's shaking the camera. Always does that when I'm using ball. I'm trying to roll out logs as the logs aren't even yet, and so it shakes the camera. Almost done. Okay, now you'll usually get air bubbles in these logs, and so what you want to do is you want to go from one end and squeeze these air bubbles out either end. Okay, and then once you've done that, you want to just twist that and mess around with the things, because we're going to be using those. We're going to be messing around with this, and you want the colours to be interesting, so just give it a nice stripy pattern. Okay, well, this is now all condensed basically, and I'm just going to pop it back into a sheet because we're going to wrap this around this. So I want to just condense this into a log that I can use. It doesn't matter how you condense it. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to take this, we're going to wrap it around here. So this isn't long enough, so I'm just going to pop this through my number 5 setting. And the number 7 setting is my thickest setting, and we'll see if that's large enough. No, I'll run it down another 2 settings on my number 3 setting. That's thick enough. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll that up to one area. Now I don't want to have it doing that because then some areas will have more black than others, and I don't really want that. So what I'll do is I'll take this bit and I'll just knock it up against this side of the sheet, and I hope that you can see there that there's a slight line, which is where this met. And so you just want to slice roughly along that line and move that back into your scrap pile, and then you'll just take that and you'll butt it up against your other side. Now it's always easier to deal with less clay than more clay. You can always stretch out your clay, but it's much harder to take clay away. So less is better when it comes to this. Now what you want to do is you just want to roll this out into a really long snake. When I mean long, thin. And you're going to experience some air bubbles along the way. So hope you can see it. There's an air bubble there, there, and there. So what you'll do is you'll just take your blade and you'll slice along these air bubbles. And then what you do is you smooth them out like that, pushing the air out. And then you'll just carry on rolling. So that's how you get rid of air bubbles in any cane. Doesn't matter what cane you're doing. Okay, so we're getting quite long now. It's much longer than the tile I'm working on, so I can't show you the entire snake. And you want this really long and really thin. And I'll show you why in just a minute. And the snake doesn't have to be even either, so don't worry about that. Okay, so you're going to end up with little ends like this. Just chop those off and pop those back into your scrap heap. You can use those for later videos. Okay, now once your snake's somewhat long, you'll just chop off a piece like that, and you put the other piece aside for later. And what you want to do is you want to roll out one section so that you have one section thinner than the other. So it goes from thick to thin one end. Like that. And I've got air bubbles in here, so I'm just going to smooth that out. Okay, now what you'll do is you'll just take this and you want to roll it like that. Put that to one side, and we'll take another piece. And it doesn't have to be thin from one end to the other. That's optional. You could actually variate. You could have some pieces where it's doing that and some pieces where it's not doing that. Just do want to taper off the ends though. Okay, you'll just roll it out. Again. Like so. We'll just pop these into each other so that they fit together nicely. You want to pop these all together into one thing so that they form almost like a sheet. So I'll come back once I've rolled all of those. Okay, so I have rolled up all of the entire snake and popped it into these shell-like shapes. And you can mess around with it. You don't have to put in shell-like shapes. You can squiggle it around and do all sorts of patterns. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my acrylic rod. I'm just going to roll across the surface in different directions to flatten it out. Now one thing to keep in mind is when you pop the colour around your leftovers, in this case I used a blackish colour, you want to try and make it quite thin, as that's important to the technique. The thinner it is, the better. Okay, so I'm just squishing this into the shape I want so that I make sure that I flatten out all these areas. Okay. Then I'll continue to roll it until I have all of these areas properly flattened out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick it up and I'm going to roll from the other side. And notice that I'm not rolling in one direction, I'm rolling it in all sorts of directions. This helps prevent distorting, but it stretches it at the same time. Okay, and I'll pick it up and roll it one more time on the other side. And then once you've got that done, you'll roll it through your pasta machine's thickest setting, in my case the number 7. And I'm going to run it through one more time, one setting thinner, which is the number 6. And I'm going to run it through on the number 5 setting, and then I can show you what it looks like. Okay. There we are. And And I'm just going to pop this onto my tile nice and flat so it doesn't budge. Now, I'll take my flexible blade, hold it as close to the middle as possible. At the same time, you're going to be keeping your hands resting on your work surface to prevent accidental gouging. So rest your hands on your work surface and keep your fingers as close to the middle of the blade as possible to prevent gouging. And you'll just slowly shave away that black. And look at that. Very, very interesting look. Yeah. And you'll just carry on doing this until you're done. And these pieces you can save, but personally I'm making such thin slices and it's going to be so hard to use them. Like really hard, they're flopping all over the place and getting stuck to each other, that I just pop this back into the scrap pile and I use it with something else. Okay, and now if your black is thin enough, you could even sand it off. So you could bake the bead while it's still looking like this, and then you can sand it off to reveal some areas and leave other areas looking dark. So that's just another idea for the technique. This is one of my favourite leftover techniques. It works so well and I use it. It's one of the few leftover techniques that I actually use in many of my beads. So you just want to skim the surface. And of course you don't have to do the nautilus shape, you can do any sort of shape you want. You can twist the snake into some sort of pattern. Okay, and now what you want to avoid is going too deep with your blade. You want to slice it as shallow as possible, and this will keep the pattern looking fresh. If you slice too deep, I find that it looks muddy for some reason. Okay, almost done. Just making sure I get all of these areas. Okay, that's about it. Okay, and then all these leftovers that I have over here, just bundle that up. And I'll use that for something else. So you get very little waste out of this. Move that aside, and then I'll take my roller, because I want to just roll this flat. And I'll just roll it in all directions to get it flat and to get out any blade lines that I might have had. Okay, that's flat. Now I'll take my foam blade, and I'll just pick it up off the tile, clean up the tile of course, and there we are. That's one of my favourite leftover techniques, as you can use it now with practically anything. It's a really wonderful technique to use. So, you can also use it as a backing for your clay. You can go ahead and shave the other side so that you have a two-way side. Anyway, I do hope that that was helpful to you, and if you liked the video, please do have a look at the links below, as there'll be more links to videos like this one, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.